we should know about or any information that we can share, don't hesitate to let us know.
We broadcast from Nairobi on 94.4 and 87.9 Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 in Eldoret, 90.9 Nyeri, Malindi. We are on 97.7. This is Spice FM, the first and only 24-hour audiovisual radio station. That means that you can listen to us and watch us. We've got cameras and lights in the studio, and you can watch us on Spice FM KE Facebook. We are live streaming on our YouTube page as well, Spice FM KE, and on our website www.spicefm.co.ke. Of course, we are going right there with the time. So also we have our Twitter conversation. That our hashtag is the Situation Room, and our Twitter handle is Spice FM KE. In this hour, we have somebody who's joined us in the hot seat, the Situation Room hot seat, and this is the Third Way Alliance leader and the Kiongos of the Punguza Mizigo initiative, Dr. Ekuru. Aukot, karibu sana, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Latiff. Thanks for having me on the show.
Karibu. Now, you know, of course, the first question that we're going to ask you. So, 22nd of October has come and passed, and therefore we already know the verdict from the 47 counties is 45 to 2. Mm-hmm. 2 counties approved the Punguza Mizigo, 45 did not, for whatever reason or the other.
Right.
What did you get out of, you went around the counties, why did it flop?
Well, there could be a number of interpretations that you can put to whether the bill actually flopped, rejected, or, was not approved. There are many reasons that we explained in our statement yesterday. For example, there are counties that refused to discuss the bill at all. They introduced technicalities. Interestingly, for example, Kirinyaga saw, the clerk from the County Assembly of Kirinyaga saw an affidavit, which is in court, to say that the bill was not rejected in Kirinyaga, that they are going to reintroduce it after 6 months. Basically, they were avoiding to discuss the bill. In counties like Siaya, they refused to discuss it at all. Same thing in Homa Bay and many, many other counties. Others introduced technicalities to say that, the bill has to be... I mean, it was laughable in some of the countries where one person raises, an MCA raises up to introduce the bill, to propose the bill, and then the person supposed to second it rises up to say, I rise to refuse to second the bill. I mean, it is... and this is captured in the Hansards of many of these counties. So for me, I think it's a... Anyway, we don't want to dwell on the past. The verdict is out there. 45 counties said they rejected the bill. 2 counties approved the bill. And I just want to say, for the county of Wasingishu, which was the first one to actually approve the bill, they made it clear that for them, they are not going political on this bill. They choose development and not politics, because they saw the need to use the word as the primary unit of accelerating development as something that will create permanency in our country, as opposed to politics, because some of the countries said our party leaders have told us to reject it. This is not our party position. In other words, some of those countries who rejected the bill actually failed to look at this bill in the context of the electorate that sent them to the county assemblies. But like you said yesterday, we accepted that decision and we respect it. It is the decision. They made the decision as leaders. Turkana County, for example, said, we accept this bill because it is aiming to end theft of public money. something that we like to christen as corruption, even though in our mother tongues we can hardly find the
We
word
don't have a word for
corruption.
corruption.
But theft is something that we can easily relate to. And I thought that was brilliant of them. In the county of Meru, for example, we have 19 members of the county assembly who actually strongly supported the bill. And we are even in conversation with them now about how to reintroduce this bill afresh, because they felt that the reasons that were given, the persuasions, were not good enough. And people looked at short-term gains. And but be that as it may, as you said, the verdict is out there. We have relaunched the project afresh right now. I've got a team of lawyers and technical experts who are relooking at the bill based upon the feedback that we got back from the general public, from the county assembly, because we managed to visit 29 county assemblies to speak to them. And they gave us some feedback, and we are going to factor that feedback and relaunch this project afresh.
There are those counties, of course, that did not debate, others debated, others rejected, others passed. But beyond the county assemblies, you've also had, of course, feedback from the general population. What is the general population telling you? I mean, some of the people who like the bill and those that oppose the bill. Let's discuss those that felt the bill was not addressing their issues. What is it that you hear them saying?
Okay, for example, there is an obsession in this country about representation. People believe that members of parliament is the reason they have development, which is a fallacy. And we've been able to demonstrate that representation is not actually, does not bring development. For example, people say to us, some members of parliament say to us, how can you sit Lamu, a population of 140,000 people, with Kiambu, a population of about 2 million people, on the same table? Because our proposal was, let's demystify this representation. What is it really to me? And we thought that we can begin to build a nation state where even the smallest and the biggest can actually meet on the same table and discuss matters equal, so that at the national level, we don't bring tribal or regional politics. And our compromise was, we retain the 1,450 wards, 1,450 wards, but use them as the primary unit of accelerating development, so that in each and every ward of this country, you can begin to measure devolution beyond county headquarters. That in my ward, do I have clean water? Do I have electricity? Do I have security? Do I have roads? And all those kind of things. So that at the national level, this representation should not be the in thing. But we found that Kenyans are still, clued to the idea that we must have our constituencies as they are, because they see constituencies as the basis for development, which is a fallacy. And we demonstrated this, Eric, yesterday. If you read our statement, we said, okay, for example, let's use Lamu and Kiambu as examples. Kiambu has 12 members of parliament. Lamu, I think, has 3. All those 12 guys and 3 guys meet in the National Assembly. In the last 6 years, we have borrowed 4 trillion Kenya shillings in national debt. Add with what we borrowed since independence, that comes to about 6 trillion Kenya shillings in national debt. Now, and we ask the question, what then is the value of representation? If your 12 members of parliament voted for that debt, then they voted for you to bear a cost. In Kiambu, for example, about each Kenyan today owes about 80,000 Kenya shillings. So Kiambu, with 2 million people, owes about 160 billion Kenya shillings. Lamu, on the other hand, 140,000 people, they owe about 11.2 billion Kenya shillings. So the question then is, what has been the value of that representation in parliament for you? Did Kiambu, for example, receive 160 billion Kenya shillings in development? It never. Did Lamu receive 11.2 billion Kenya shillings in development? It never. So what then is the value of representation? The question in the bill was this, Eric. We were talking about over-representation. And we did a case study, and I hope you all are familiar yourself with the bill. We, for example, did a case study of about 3 countries and ours, the 4th. We looked at the United States of America, for example, a population of 350 million people, represented by 535 representatives. Meaning, in the US, for example, one person would represent 625,000 people. We looked at India, one of the oldest democracies, 1.3 billion people with only 800 representatives, meaning about one person represents 1.6 million people. We looked at China, a country that we borrow a lot from. I mean, part of our big problem, national debt from India, China. 1.4 billion people. They only have 1,200 representatives. So when you come back home, Kenya, a population of about 50 million people with 416 representatives.
Yes,
okay?
I'd like to interject.
And we said, well, listen, wait fast. It's important that I explain this. If you look at 416 people representing 50 million people, that is over-representation by about 400%. Now, the question that we took to the people is, between development at your very doorsteps and more representatives, which one would you rather have? And Kenyans told us, the 1.2 million people that supported Punguza Mizigo, said, we want services at our very doorsteps. Again, we also drew parallels from a country like I like to visit a lot, Switzerland. I go to Switzerland to visit friends in Zurich, and I like to joke with them because I go there annually. I have to ask them, who is your president this time round? You know, most Swiss people do not know who their president is because it's a rotational presidency every year. Okay? And ask them, how can you not know who your president is? They say to us, we don't care about who the president is. What I care is, what does the canton give me? Can my children choose today to go to an academic school or a technical school? Is my garbage being collected every often? And is that garbage being turned into energy, from waste to energy? You know, can I walk 5 minutes to a bus stop, jump into a bus, into a train station, and take the next train to Geneva, to France, to Germany? Those are the things that people are concerned with. And therefore, for us, the vision we had as Third Way Alliance Kenya was, how do we accelerate equality in this country, bring about inclusivity, real inclusivity? We thought inclusivity can only be achieved if you went to the smallest unit of representation and provided services at people's very doorsteps.
You know, Ekuru, you hold a position that is unique in very many aspects. You are the executive director of the Committee of Experts.
That's true.
That, harmonized the constitution, various drafts, and gave us the 2010 constitution.
Right.
Was this a conversation that was happening during that process on representation and on what we are getting? And what is it that carried the day, that made this conversation carry the day, that let's have 290 constituencies plus others, that we ended up having 345 MPs, for example, in the National Assembly?
So I'll take you back to the last report of the Committee of Experts in 2010. And the unfortunate thing about our country is that we don't read. People don't take time to read. In the final report of the Committee of Experts, Eric, we actually warned about the cost. Remember, constitution making or constitution building is a negotiated agreement. Sometimes you have to compromise certain things. Remember, Kenyans also wanted a 4-tier level of government. They wanted to adopt the Bomas process, where you had the national government, the regional government, district government, and locational government.
I see.
You know, all those 4 tiers. But we told them, I mean, this is crazy. And remember that time, the time we were making the constitution, Kibaki had already dished out districts to almost every tribe in this country. If you remember, for example, Teso, they were jubilated because now they are Teso district. You know, you can see the way the districts were being given. So ideally, we were going to have like 4-tier government. So we resisted. So we warned of the cost. But as responsible constitutional builders, what we did is we ensured that there are mechanisms in our own constitution that will enable Kenyans in the future to be able to review their constitution, which is why we have Article 255 of the Kenya Constitution, Article 256, and Article 257. So that whatever it is that we think is not working in our constitution in the future, we can amend and review it. This is standard anywhere else in the world. And let me also say that there is really no perfect constitution in the world. I mean, you can't find that. Even the American Constitution, people talk about the American Constitution. It's few words, about 4,300 words compared to ours, but it has gone through many, many, many amendments. And it actually, if you think about it, if you put together with all the 50 states of America, it's probably the longest constitution in the world. So I think there is no perfect constitution in the world. We keep on improving it. And the idea of Punguza Mizigo was, how do we then strengthen certain aspects of our constitution? For example, we wanted to strengthen parliament, make parliament efficient. Like people have said, there's an MP who actually supported our bill. I mean, a couple of them. And he said one time he was sitting in their canteen And he requested some guy passing by to give him to serve him a cup of tea, only to realize he was a fellow member of parliament. So they don't even know each other. They can't even contribute meaningfully to debates. And this, everybody agrees that the question we were addressing is over-representation. We also wanted to strengthen devolution. We wanted to end corruption, theft of public money. We're introducing a methodical way of how you fight theft of public money.
We'll look at all these things as we go on in this conversation. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We have Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the leader of the Punguza Mizigo initiative. And of course, he's chairman. What are you in the?
I'm the party leader of Third
Party leader of the Third Way Alliance.
I expected Eric that you.
I knew that. I was it's just going, getting off my mind. He's the party leader of the Third Way Alliance. This is the Situation Room. Of course, I'll be opening up the phone lines at 12:30 the hour for you to call in and contribute. When you come out of this short break, of course, we'll be looking at the politics of the Punguza Mizigo initiative.
On digital and on radio. This is Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In the Situation Room, my name is Latiff. We have CT Muga, Okoh, Njeri Thorne, and the party leader of the Third Way Alliance. This is Dr. Ekuru Aukot. Let's talk about the politics of the Third Way, the Punguza Mizigo bill. Njeri.
Actually, I wasn't coming in with politics, Eric. I wanted to interject when we were being given the spiel from the good doctor about overrepresentation and the countries that he quoted. I would rather he dealt with peer group countries as opposed to comparing us with countries with populations of billions. In fact, China and India being quite notorious for their population. So according to the data from the International Parliamentary Union, our parliamentary combined membership of 416 is actually ranked 33rd largest. So that is quite outstanding. But if you look at our peer groups, which is countries with a similar population, and this is how you have to make the comparisons. You can't go to India and talk about countries with sort of over 1 billion people and make that comparison. So we're more closer to sort of Spain or Colombia. And we're actually quite average. A population of 108,000 per MP is in the middle of the pack. So when you tell us that we're overrepresented and then you use the facts that you did, i.e. India, China, it's a bit misleading. It's more important that you look at peer countries. I thought I'd point that out before you mislead us.
Can I have a rejoinder to that?
Please.
I think, I would like to benchmark myself with the best. If you tell me to benchmark with the peer countries, then maybe you can talk about
peer in terms of population. It's important that you
listen, and the question we took to the people, Njeri, was this. Between development at your very doorstep, services, and representation, which one would you rather? The people of Kenya, 1.2 million people who supported Punguza Mizigo, said, we don't want more representatives. That is the choice Kenyans made. And I think for me, it's not about, we compared. I mean, we picked those countries because we thought, let's get from the best. Some of these very progressive, older democracies. And
one is not a democracy at all. China.
I don't know what
if you're going to use it for comparison, it's not. Because if you're going to compare representation and development.
The question for us was about representation. I mean, one person in China, for example, in India, represents about 1.6 million people compared to what their development.
You realize in China, of course, it's not a democracy. So it's not a good country to.
I mean, those are your words, not mine.
It's a fact.
I don't know.
Okay.
Is it scientifically proven?
Right. No, that was my initial question. In terms of the politics, you were quite quick to say that Uasin Gishu wasn't political. I'd argue the inverse, actually. It was one of the counties that supported your bill, and there was a lot of talk and murmurs about the fact that it's, of course, the DP's backyard, and maybe that's who might have been sponsoring the bill altogether. Is there any truth to that?
No. I mean, I think that's a very cheap and simplistic argument.
Oh, you can think what you want. Is there any truth to it?
There's no truth to it.
Okay, that was my question. You don't have to then qualify it with your subjective.
I have to explain.
What I wanted to ask as well.
I have to explain.
My question was, is there any truth to it?
Yes, you have asked your question, but your question is
yes
very
or no. No, yes or no. That was the question.
Can you let the man answer
so
the question?
He has said no, and he wants to explain
why.
In
politics, a lot of rhetoric
let the man
comes into
answer
play.
the question.
Why not, Dr. Ekuru?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very cheap. Njeri, I'm sorry to say, you fall in the category of people in this country.
Let's not get ad hominem. Let's discuss the points here.
We will, and I'm going to discuss it. I mean, that's why I came to this show. I think I want to explain myself this way. You, unfortunately, fall into the category of people who think that this country people cannot come up with solution independent of other personalities in this country. Third Way Alliance Kenya thought independently of this process. And the people of us, let's respect the decision of those MCAs. Like I said, the speaker came out, I think he was even in one of your stations here. He came out to say the reason we passed that bill is because we did not want to politicize this bill. Remember, Third Way Alliance does not even have a single MCA, not even a single member of parliament. But we managed to cause a national conversation in 47 county assemblies. And if you also want to politicize this process in Njeri, then you must also tell us, for example, why other counties refuse to debate the bill because their party leaders told them not to debate it.
Can I come in and ask a question concerning that? Because you made it very clear that there were some assemblies that refused to even discuss it.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Because you're looking at already, having read it and gone through it and looking at the different, propositions that were made, why then would they not even agree to discuss it and then take it to discourse level and then see either where to pass or reject it? What do you see could be the reason for that?
Like I said, there are two reasons why this bill purportedly failed in the 45 county assemblies. One was pure politics, and I'm happy that you guys are bringing up this issue. It was pure politics. Some of those counties refused to debate the bill because they have been told to reject it.
They were told as an assembly in total to reject it, to not even discuss it.
Yes.
Can I ask another question before you answer?
Yeah. Okay.
So are we saying that it's possible that they saw from far the merits of it and saw how it could possibly change, and then they said, look, we're not even going to discuss it because some people's minds could be changed? Is that the direction we're going?
You can only establish the merits or demerits of an issue when you put it into debate.
Right.
Yeah. So they never put it into debate in some of the countries. They flatly refused to debate it.
Why the resistance?
Listen,
as
I said, it was pure politics. One of the reasons why this bill was rejected was who is sponsoring it. That we were told. Because it didn't come from some quarters. And that's why I go back, Njeri, to the question you raised earlier. We have a tendency in this country to refuse to do things because we want some people to tell us where to go. That until so-and-so speaks about it, then it's not worth it. But you see, what we have proved as Third Way Alliance Kenya, a very young political party that only got certification in 2017, February, that we can actually move a national agenda.
You have sponsors? Where were you getting your funding from?
Well, we had a pay bill, which is still very active, but they have to now. People
How much did you collect from your pay bill? And can we follow up on that?
Top of my head, I don't know, but it's in millions.
Okay, how much did the whole exercise cost?
Why is that relevant?
Because then we know if it needed sponsorship, where the money came from. We can see who was driving an agenda.
Okay, who will you think
depending on where? No, it depends on where the money came from. Let's have a look.
Okay,
then we can start to get an indication as to whether there was somebody sponsoring it from a political perspective.
What makes you think that the ordinary Kenyans could not have sponsored this bill? Because
it could have been. I'm not disputing that. I'm asking you who it was.
I am telling you, there's a pay bill there, 7855.
78 55 00.
And
Kenyans are we able to find out how much went into it?
Yes, yesterday, if you are very keen and if you have taken time to research Third Way Alliance, we released a report yesterday and we promised that we are going to publish our financial statement. Right now, as I speak to you, we are finalizing on that report. So hold your horses.
While we have you on radio, can you tell our audience how much you got from the public?
But Njeri, he has just said that they're going to publish it.
Some people might not see that publication.
They haven't finished the audit. Is that what you're saying?
Can you tell us how much you received?
So you haven't
tell us how much you received.
It's in millions. I don't know. I don't know top of my head exactly.
But Njeri, if someone
this is very important because it's a key indicator as to who was behind this bill. If you're telling us it's the general public, let us see or let us hear how much the members of the general public actually sent.
Njeri, who do you think is behind this?
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
But you've asked me a question. I've answered.
Okay.
I've told you.
And I was asking you for the
figures. There's a pay bill out there. And it's not the first time we are doing a pay bill. We did a pay bill in 2017. You never asked me who was sponsoring us in 2017.
With this one, I was curious, and I'm sure the audience is curious. I'm speaking for the audience as well.
Why are you? Okay, explain your curiosity.
No, I'm just curious as to how it was afforded, how it was financed. That was my curiosity.
The issue of who sponsored
because it's indicative of who was behind it.
Actually, predominate the discussion.
I think
We've-
it speaks
it's
volumes.
been asked, it's been answered. Let's move on.
To the next one.
Dr.
City,
Aukot,
Aukot.
Yes, sir.
as a politician of some profound repute, had you not foreseen the opposition that you speak of?
No, I mean, let me tell you, Muga, I'm not surprised that the bill received a lot of opposition from as close friends of mine like Raila Odinga, who I meet often. And I asked him, Jacob, why are you opposed to us? And I've asked him this publicly. Why are you opposed to this bill? And he couldn't give me any reasons. But I see, like I said yesterday in our statement, political jealousy in Kenya is now a reality. If you are seen to be not from certain quarters or certain political pedigree, then you cannot sponsor certain things in this country. And that, for me, is a reality. And yes, we were actually expecting opposition of this bill from members of parliament because, one, we are reducing constituencies. We are expecting this opposition from governors because of the issue of integrity that we are addressing. If you look at the amendments to this bill proposition, for example, the idea that we are amending Article 73 of the Kenya Constitution to say, if you are actually adversely mentioned or there is a finding, an audit finding, that you have not accounted for money or even shown value for money, then you are barred from running for any public office. Of course, we are expecting opposition. We are expecting opposition when we said, let's strengthen the office of the Auditor General to introduce a forensic accounting department which will begin to gather evidence of a criminal nature so that anybody who has funds and cannot account for it should be tried. We are expecting opposition when we put in timelines for prosecution of thieves of public money.
So
They're
you
not
had
realistic, though, these
foreseen this.
timelines.
How had you then worked towards addressing those, what you were foreseeing as opposition? What had you done? What groundwork had you done to?
We could only do so much because what we did is we went out there, we explained the bill, we explained the benefits of this bill to the people of Kenya. For example, if you were to severely punish thieves of public money, we were going to save our country 3.78 trillion Kenya shillings.
And did the people resonate with it? Did you put it out to people like that?
Yes.
I mean, in simple terms, the way you've done right now.
Absolutely.
And then from that, did people resonate with that information that you were giving them to say that we actually see then, because we have discussions here where we talk about the consequences of corruption, for example, but then not just the consequences of corruption, but talk about the benefits of having a corrupt-free society. So did people resonate with that? Because why I'm asking that before you answer, because if people see that, then they're likely to throw their weight behind something that they understand.
The truth for the matter is this: the bill is very popular with the people. It's not popular with a leadership, a certain type of leadership. In fact, up until now, Kenyans are asking us, can we have the chance to vote for this bill directly? And in fact, this has led us to make now a proposition that we need to amend Article 257 of the Kenya Constitution, because it does not make sense that 1.2 million people will say, go and amend the Constitution to fight thieves of public money. Then you subject that decision to 1,450 people in the county assemblies. It's paradoxical. So it has also made us think, okay, how then do we take a popular initiative directly to the people? Because a few individuals, like if even the 416 members of parliament, together with about 2,000 MCS plus MCS, that's just under what? Under 3,000 people. Making a decision for 1.2 million people. We thought this is unfair.
And that's the way democracy works, though.
It does.
There was some populist. I wanted to ask about
Njeri, I'll come back to you.
Provisions.
It is the way democracy works, Njeri. But we'll also expect in a democracy there will be responsive leadership. That you make a decision on behalf of the electorate. For example, one of the issues that emerged in this discussion, the MCAs, when they made this decision, did they actually consider the people who send them to the county assemblies? For example, in Nyeri, interestingly...
Are you saying they didn't consider the people who sent them?
I don't think they did.
The people who sent them to legislate on their behalf,
Why?
They didn't take them into consideration.
I don't think they did.
Why?
They did not, because, for example, a couple of them said, especially the nominated one, oh, you are targeting us. We are the people you are calling Mzigo. You want to Punguza us. That's what they said. Actually, yeah. The nomination, and especially in a majority of our counties, for example, women are not easily electable. In fact, it's only Bungoma County that is leading by about 10 elected MCAs, women. The others like 1 or 2, but so the majority of them, they are calling themselves top-ups. That's the language we got, top-ups. And therefore, when they saw this bill, they said, no, you are targeting us. And what we raised with them is, listen, nomination is not permanent. Even these positions are not permanent. I want you to look at the greater benefit of this bill bringing development to your very... And there was a nominated MCA, I must say, from Nakuru, who said, listen, I've lived in Nakuru town almost all my life. But as custom dictates, we Africans, we like to retire back into our villages. And I like the beauty of this bill because if it's going to ensure that in my village, I have everything that I need, good roads, electricity, hospitals, schools, then I think I'll support this bill. I don't care about my job because today I'm nominated, tomorrow I could not be nominated. So that's why I'm saying some people really personalized this bill. They took it personal that you are targeting us.
But the changes that you proposed in your bill, don't you think that they were drastic?
Actually, no. I mean, sitting. Look at, for example, the question of overrepresentation. Is it not a real issue in Kenya?
When I say drastic, what I mean is you are going against a norm that has been established and accepted. And so if by drastic, I also mean that you would expect people to oppose it because there are people already benefit from it.
You're affecting people.
Yes, that's why I asked the question, were you prepared? Did you anticipate opposition? Because when you put forward such a thing that, let me use a better word, progressive, I would expect that you would expect even more opposition than you got.
Listen, I am not surprised at the opposition that we got. Because yes, some of the issues that we are proposing, indeed, yes, they are drastic, they are harsh. For example, the idea that if you are a thief of public money and you're actually found to have stolen, we want you jailed for life.
That is a populist approach.
Yes,
this is what I was coming to. It's your amendment to 79.
It is populist.
Why do we need criminal sanctions in the Katiba? We already have provisions for this in our in all our laws, and it doesn't change behavior. So that was a very populist approach.
Yes, it is populist, and there's nothing wrong with
Dr. I want you to come and respond to this when we check a look at the traffic when we come back. It's 28 minutes to 9 o'clock. Who we have in the studio on the hot seat in the Situation Room this morning is Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the party leader of the Third Way Alliance, of course, the leader of the Punguza Mizigo initiative. That was the Constitution Amendment initiative. He's here to tell us what the thinking was behind it, the politics that he saw out of this, and the way forward for Third Way Alliance on this push of theirs of amending the Constitution and the areas that they thought they would amend the Constitution. Good morning. This is Spice FM.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right. Industrial area Enterprise Road is giving a bit of a headache this morning as concerns traffic around about 8:30, and we see that traffic is bumper to bumper. Same situation, Jacaranda all the way past Donholm. People will actually get to town past 8 o'clock if that is their destination. There is traffic also now joining on Gong Road trying to get into the CBD. If you're on the Eastern Bypass along Komarock Road and heading towards Dandora, there's traffic there as well. So we're getting to the point where the first wave of traffic has ended and we are now in the second wave, as is of many things. 0719012600 is the number to call. See anything that we should know about, don't hesitate to give us a call and we'll try to keep you moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And of course, in Mombasa, we are on 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, 97.7 in Malindi, and we are live streaming on our Facebook page, Spice FM KE, on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke, and also on our YouTube page, that is Spice FM KE. The conversation is happening on our Twitter handle, Spice FM KE, via the hashtag The Situation Room. Who do we have in the studio? We have Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the party leader of the Third Way Alliance, of course, the leader of the Punguza Mizigo Constitution Amendment Initiative. In the Situation Room, my name is Latiff. We have CT Muga, we have Njeri Thorne, we have Okoh, and I'm opening up the phone lines now for you to contribute and have a conversation with Dr. Aukot. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Dr. Aukot.
Yeah, I just wanted to, back to Njeri, there's nothing wrong with a populist idea. Let's examine, for example, the definition of what a populist idea is. Relating to or characteristics of a political approach that strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups. That is populism.
It's juxtaposing your
Yes,
idea against
and that's
the elites.
populism. And listen, I see nothing wrong with that, because I think in this country, people feel that they've been betrayed by their leadership. In fact, one of the frailties of our society since independence is actually the failure of leadership for the last 56 years. And if you look at the representative, like we have said, what has representative given us? Huge debts. Today, as we speak in Njeri, our parliament keeps on approving revenue that is divided to counties based on old audited accounts of 2013, 2014 or 2014, 2015, instead of using the most recent audited account. That is a failure of leadership, because then you are denying your constituents, the people you represent, the rightful share of revenue. That's leadership, and that's why we feel there's nothing wrong with this idea of being a populist, because it's really about the people of Kenya. And I have not proposed this idea, I'm not leading this idea because I'm looking for any personal gains. As a matter of fact,
You didn't want it to pass? You didn't want to excite
I
people?
want it to pass. I want it to pass, but I'm not
Whose
looking at.
benefit?
I want to benefit the people of Kenya, including myself. You know, listen, I live in Kilimani Ward, in this Nairobi. If you drive around Kilimani Road, Kilimani Ward, you'll be so disappointed with the state of roads, the lighting system, even just garbage. So for me, this is what I wanted. I want to live in a better society. I want to be a citizen, not an idiot or a tribes person.
You can be both.
I know I'm not.
You can be a citizen.
You can be an
No, not you. I'm saying you can be a citizen and an idiot.
No, I cannot. I've refused
possible.
I've refused to be an idiot. I've refused to be a tribes person. I want to be a citizen because I want the larger society of Kenya to benefit. And that's exactly why we are pushing for Punguza Mizigo Kenya. Because
Daktari, if you say you don't have any interest and you're a politician, surely.
No.
Don't the two, is it possible to have one independent of the other?
City.
Yes.
It is about, I said, I don't have a personal interest. I have a societal interest. I want my country to be better. That's the vision. For example,
your approach.
For example, Njeri, let me just explain this. If you look at the idea of using the ward as a primary unit of accelerating development, where you actually have services at your very doorsteps, okay? That everybody today can say, I have clean water, I have electricity, I have security.
Absolutely. We talked about that earlier in the show.
It prepares us to even discuss the idea whether do we actually need 47 counties in the future when everybody is getting services at their very doorsteps. You see? And I'm thinking that is the only way we can begin to talk about a nation state, not the conglomeration of ethnic identities we are today.
Now you've hit the nail on the head. Now we can have a proper discussion as to where you're.
I have somebody on the line, so before
and that for me is my
now.
game.
Now we can start the debate.
So before we go on now, 0719 012 600, that's 0719 012 600. I have Fred Okango, your Secretary General, Dr. Aukot of the Third Way Alliance. Fred, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Karibu to the conversation.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the discussion that's going on. It's wonderful. But I just wanted to explain something. I have heard Njeri Thorne argue that China is not a democracy. Well, whatever she means by that, I also want to remind her her government and my government that we belong to borrows heavily from China. That's why I say yours and mine. I also want to remind Njeri that the same China is now coming out as a powerhouse in the world, and especially starting itself in Africa. And what we looked at the representation. We didn't look at whether it is a democracy or not. Look at the population in China. Look at the representation of elected leadership. If 1.4 billion people are represented by a lesser representation, then we can now say that that country is probably growing because of lesser representation.
No, that's a fallacy. No.
It's not a fallacy.
You cannot discount the fact that this is almost a dictatorship. It's authoritarian rule, and it's very easy to rule over 1.4 million as an MP. So you can't discount the democratic nature of what we're talking about. You can't put that to one side. When you make comparisons, you must choose peer countries, and our peer countries are Spain and Colombia. And if you compare us, we're not too far off in terms of representation per MP.
Fred, please remember that Njeri is someone who supports dictatorships, huh? she's
I
not
mean,
against
but
dictatorship.
I can still have arguments on both sides. No,
actually
those were the
supports
wrong
the
countries.
failed
Those were the wrong countries to make comparisons with. Those were the
All
wrong
right,
countries to make
let's hear Fred.
comparisons with.
Fred,
Well, Njeri is a propagandist for a failed regime. That has abandoned us.
No, now we're throwing
guys,
accusations
guys.
unnecessary.
all your mics are off. Fred, please.
Can I
speak.
make my final comment?
Yes, please.
Njeri is not only a propagandist. We know that. She worked for this government before and she was the lead propagandist. We also know that. But she's also refusing to understand that for you to make change, you must borrow from the best practices, where even our country borrows from financially. That is what she's forgetting. Number two, my last comment is this. The conceptual framework of Punguza Mizigo bill was to lower the burden that is borne by the taxpayer, Njeri included. So if that burden can be lowered at whatever means that is legally possible, then Kenyans have said we want it. But look at the politics around it. When certain regions were told, don't approve Punguza Mizigo, wait for a bill that is coming. That bill is like a pregnancy that you don't even see the signs. And you're told, no, there's a child that is going to be born, and the kids are not seeing the signs of the pregnancy. That is what Njeri is waiting for.
No, what was the hurry? Why not make sure we get it right if we're going to have a referendum? What was your rush? Why not get both and let people decide? You people were in a hurry for what?
Njeri, the Constitution does not say wait for BBI. Constitution says once you meet the threshold under Article 257, this is the progress that is going to take. We took that. We were the only political party that has shown that we can follow the existing law to amend the Constitution. We have not gone to people to ask them, wait. We have not gone to people to tell them, don't pass whichever. We have gone to people to ask them, what do you want? They told us, that has explained, they stayed between overrepresentation and services at your doorstep. They chose services, and that's why they endorsed the 16-point agenda of Punguza Mizigo.
Fred,
that is what is on the table.
Asante, your point is made, Fred. Asante
Fred.
sana for calling. Let me go to Kisumu, where we have Ben, who's calling from Kisumu. Good morning, Ben.
How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Karibu to the Situation Room. We have Dr. Aukot here. We'd like to ask him a question.
Okay, how are you, Mheshimiwa?
Nzuri sana Ben, habari yako?
Salama sana.
Habari ya Kisumu.
I'm not in Kisumu, actually. I'm in Nakuru, London. Yeah. So actually, Mheshimiwa, you gave us at least that be the amendment was actually in the right path. But the issue was we were asking ourselves that why did not sail through. And of course, some people were asking ourselves, you were in the 2010 Constitution, and what happened that time? You never came in with the amendment you want to make now. Number two, you actually lacked what you call political will. Yeah. We were seeing you are running alone, you want to champion yourself alone, but you never had a connection with other people so that now they can support you to trump what we are. But in the ground, actually, people were happy about the bill itself. But the issue now, the politics...
Njeri is listening to that.
Yeah. No, it was a populist bill, no doubt.
You can now hear from Ben and Njeri that the bill is very popular.
Thank you, Ben. Dr. Okoh, he's saying you were fashioning yourself as the Lone Ranger in this, as the third alliance. You do not seek to cross over, bipartisan support of this, getting other politicians and other members of the political class to support this.
Actually, I don't know why people keep on saying that Ekuru Aukot is a Lone Ranger. You see, you cannot sponsor a constitutional amendment bill alone as a person. I only have one vote. My vote is only one. The Constitution of Kenya at Article 257 says you can generate general propositions, take them to the people. If you get the threshold of 1 million, in our case, we surpassed that. We got 1.2 million registered voters endorsing this.
Yet you don't have a single MCA?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In fact,
how is it? No, I'm just wondering, how is it you weren't able to garner any votes from MCAs?
2017.
Before, after the election?
Just before the election.
Did you front any MCAs?
Yes, we had candidates.
So you're saying alone, without the support of, let's say, DP Ruto or any other financing?
I don't know why you're obsessed with
I'm not. I'm just saying, let's say, alone you're able to get how many million signatures? 1.2 million signatures. Yet alone as a party during elections, you weren't able to get even a single seat as MCA.
Yeah.
For an MCA. Okay, just making sure we're clear on that.
Listen,
okay.
I know what you're trying to
No. I'm just asking a question.
Listen, yes, you're asking a question, but I also have the right of reply. I think you are obsessed with DP Ruto. Is your deputy. You are actually a propagandist for this failed regime of Jubilee.
No,
I don't know why.
Get ad hominem.
Listen,
Why are you attacking me, Daktari? No, why are you attacking
Listen,
me? You don't know that. You're making assertions.
I know.
You don't. You
I know,
don't. How
Njeri.
do you know?
You
All
used
right,
to you used to be a loudmouth for Jubilee, even on social media. We
Daktari,
all know you.
Daktari, let's maintain it at a certain
We
level.
will. We will
at a
maintain.
certain level.
But
No, it's getting
Elevated.
personal unnecessarily
No,
because you don't want to answer certain questions.
Mature,
And the question
elevated
here
conversation.
highlights
Listen,
the fact that
listen.
for you to collect 1.2 million signatures,
Yes.
whereas you could even garner support to find even one
It is
MCA,
not rocket science.
there's a disparity there that needs to be discussed.
so-
Where did
so-
you suddenly get this
so
support?
what is your
Where
disparity?
So are you saying,
I am
Njeri, that-
saying, I'm
Njeri.
trying to find out where did you get this support
Okay.
whereby you could garner that
So let
many
me explain.
signatures and go around the country
Before
and
you
actually
explain,
push
Daktari,
this bill.
Let me also ask a question. How are the two related?
Yes.
I mean, the fact we are in 2019, 2 years have passed since the last election.
Exactly.
When somebody has a proposition to amend the constitution of Kenya, what has that got to do with the party's
That should
performance
have
in the
that
last
should have
election?
been his response.
No.
That
I've
should have
asked-
been. It's
I've
one
asked the
response
question.
that I'll accept.
Okay, you can't answer
it's one
CT's
one
question because
response
you
that I'll
basically do not have
accept.
an answer. But I will also tell you this. You sound as if you are informed and educated. But I would have expected someone like you to
Let's not get personal, please.
No.
No. Don't get
I'm
personal.
not getting personal. I'm not getting personal because you're asking questions based
The
on
questions
your
are
knowledge.
not personal. I'm asking questions, but you're getting personal. You've told
I'm
me I'm a
not.
propagandist.
Yes,
I'm a
you are.
loudmouth. I work for the
But-
regime. You
but-
don't know any of those
but
things.
but you are.
No, I am not.
I can confirm.
I am not.
If I may just interject here, some of these questions may sound a little piercing and they may sound a little upsetting. They are not intended to be. What we are trying to do, we will not get someone of your caliber here on a daily basis. The questions that Njeri is asking are questions that have been asked.
They're in the public
and I
domain.
want to respond
Yes.
to them
and,
this
and,
way.
and the way she comes out may sound forceful. That's her style.
No. What
It's
Njeri
not
is
forceful.
trying
It's
to
very
do.
well put and
What-
articulated. He doesn't like the question.
What
All right,
Njeri is
hold
trying
on.
to
So
do.
can we
Even
address
someone
the
Eric.
question?
Move on to the next question.
Let's address.
Before we go to
address
the next question,
questions.
let's finalize it.
Let's address
I
this
think
question.
I would like
how,
Njeri to stop her belittling attitude towards anybody who is not a sycophant of Jubilee like she is. That's a fact.
There is a belittling
okay,
attitude.
okay.
What is a
Secondly-
belittling attitude?
secondly-
I've asked you questions.
Secondly, by the way, you invited me to talk about Punguza Mizigo, so be patient.
So let's talk about
Okay,
Punguza
let's
Mizigo.
talk about
Let's
Punguza
talk about.
Mizigo. If you don't want the fact that
Daktari,
I'm
let's
here
talk
to
about.
explain
Let's talk
myself.
about Punguza
Let's end the
Mizigo.
show.
Okay,
And
let's
there's
talk
a-
about Pumziga,
Exactly.
and I will go to the
So-
next question.
And there's a
Punguza
question.
Mizigo-
Let me go to the next
Listen,
question.
no. Before you go to the next question, I also want to educate Njeri that the provisions of Article 257 of our Constitution, which I really expect someone like her to have read before she comes here to ask very naive questions, is that you do not need to have representation to sponsor a constitutional amendment. The Constitution says anybody, any Kenyan, can rise up, come up with a general proposition, take it to the people of Kenya, as we did. So, to support CT's question, there is no relationship between the fact that you must have representative and gathering support for Punguza Mizigo.
There's
Article
an
two-
inference that you
Article-
can make that if you've had no political support previously and
Yeah,
suddenly
but I
you can
cannot-
get all this
but I can
political
also
support,
say to you-
Next
that maybe
question.
there's somebody who has
Ndu.
come into
I
the
can
fore,
also
into
say
the
to
play.
you, yes, you may
It's
have
an inference.
Yes,
There's no fact
yes,
that
We
have
have.
come to
the
pass
party you
here. It's
support.
an
I think
inference.
we've exhausted.
No,
We've
I
exhausted
can
this
also
question.
say the
Hold
converse-
on.
the
No,
converse-
Daktari. Hold on. No. Hold on. Your mic is off, Daktari. And the reason why I'm putting off the mic is because I'm the one in the chair and I want to moderate the conversation. So we move to the next point because we have 10 minutes to go so that we finish this point. And the answer that we've given has answered the question that was asked. You do not have representation. How can you get 1.2 million? And you say it's not a requirement, and you say it's possible for anyone. And that's what is envisaged in the Constitution. That was the answer that we've given. Now, Okoh, what is your question?
With all of that taken into consideration, looking at the representation, obviously, that came about from this, and you said that you would have expected some kind of opposition, and you went in knowing that there would be some opposition. Did you expect it to the degree that we saw it at? Because we're looking at a total shutdown of it. And if we're saying that people, this is what they wanted, people generally wanted, the people who still will go in 2022 and vote, the people who will vote during said referendum when that comes to the fore, why then, and then again, the people who will vote, these individuals who then go to legislate on their behalf, those that they have chosen, why then do we see such a disparity at the point now when a decision is being made?
Listen, you ask a very important question. And the question is this. Who actually rejected this bill? You've just heard from Ben calling from London, Nakuru, that actually the bill is very popular on the ground. So what a select elite leadership did is to shut down this bill at the county assembly level, so that
deliberately. And do you think that was? I'm asking because it's very important for them to understand how the politics of this country then works. Was that a deliberate action then to make sure that it does not get out into the open?
Yes, it was. It was deliberate because, like you have confirmed, some people just refuse to debate it, because the process of this bill is that if it actually leaves the 24 county assemblies approve it, then it comes to Parliament. Even if it were to go to Parliament, it will not have mattered what Parliament does, whether Senate or National Assembly, because the proposal is to, for example, affect representation, the structure of government. Eventually, it will ended up with the people in a referendum, and that is the politics. They therefore felt we cannot allow this bill
to go to the people.
And that's why they fought it so hard. By the way, we consider this actually a win for us. By the time they organize resources to fight us, to make sure this bill doesn't go through, for us it's a big win.
So this is not an end? This is not an end with the rejection with the statement yesterday?
Oh, no.
This is not an end?
It is not.
Where are we seeing it going forward?
Actually, Punguza Mizigo has now become Punguza Mizigo movement. In fact, we have relaunched phase 2 of this called Punguza Mizigo Kenya. And you'll be shocked to see the kind of support we are now receiving, even online. People are asking us, Wakikata, bring it again. We'll give you 10 million signatures this time round. So for us, no, this was not a sprint. For us, we consider this a marathon. And to change this country, including some of our behaviors, it requires a long time. Change is not an overnight thing. And we appreciate the difficulty that comes with it. That if leaders actually looked at the merits of this bill or the benefit, and we are not saying it was perfect. Okay, there are certain things we for example, overlooked. For example, when Kenyans told us abolish all nominations, they felt that, like I remember when we were going to bus stops, collecting signatures, marketplaces, people asking us, these people called nominated, who do they represent? And who nominated them? What exactly do they do? And say, me sitting here selling my mboga, I don't see the value of that nominated person. After all, I never elected them. So they say remove them. But the politics at the county assembly was that we are targeting those people.
You're targeting those ones.
And that's the reason, part of the reason why they say no to this bill.
Let's take some few more questions and comments from the audience. 0719-012-600. We have 3 minutes to take in questions. Let's start with Roderick. Good morning, Roderick.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Roderick.
Good morning, Roderick.
Good morning, Bwana Aukot.
Mzuri sana bwana, habari yako?
Mzuri sana bwana. Sasa Aukot, let me ask you a question. This country of ours, I think what you never took into consideration, and why probably I won't support your bill, is that this country has suffered a lot of injustices.
What, sorry?
And injustices, economic injustices, political injustices.
Roderick.
Yes?
You still have your radio on, and it's
No, my radio is off.
It's off?
My radio is off.
All right, so I'll be a bit louder then.
Okay, I'm just saying, this country has so many political and economic injustices that have been happening up through the years. And the sad part is that your bill didn't conclusively address some of these on how they're going to be handled. For example, stuff like the Wagala massacre and all that. Because this constitution that we have at the moment, it is not 100%. But the BBI is addressing it for it to correct some of the parts.
Let me ask a question, Frederick. Have you seen the BBI report?
The BBI report, what I'm listening so far.
No. Let's not talk about rumors. Have you seen the report itself?
I'm picking the parts that are going to correct some of these things.
So what you're saying is what is in the public domain about what is expected to come out of the BBI?
What is in public domain about the BBI?
All right,
is positive.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's positive. What I'm saying.
So how does it address the Wagala massacre? And that's the question you're asking.
This constitution. What I think, this constitution was just to cover most of the things that have been happening, bad things that were happening in this country, because you tried to put up the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Commission. How did it go?
Well,
they did a report.
Is BBI addressing that?
The BBI won't address that. But I'm just trying to tell Aukot that...
Then how would it be better than Punguza Mizigo?
These things that we're trying to do, Punguza Mizigo, the BBI and everything, we have to go back to the core and see where we went wrong as a country. Other than this cosmetic shot, because I'm very sure that somebody will come up and say the Punguza Mizigo has also issues and will continue to repair it all over and all over again.
Roderick, the question has to be asked. The question has to be asked. Have you read the initiative that
Punguza Mizigo?
Yes.
Yes,
Have you
the
read
BBI?
It? Have you read BBI?
The BBI, not yet, but what
so
I'm
are
hearing,
you saying that if people are dealing or are addressing current issues, they should stop dealing with the current issues and go back to the past?
I think that
the past,
the issue he's raising here, which I was going to actually bring up as well, and it's what is a clear difference in terms of schema and essence between the two the two bills that are looking to change, or the two approaches to change. There's
only one bill. There are not two
bills. Approaches that are looking to change or to have a referendum. One is looking and leaning towards, and that's why I brought up this idea of populism and sort of juxtaposing our problems against the elite, and it brings about the class divide and that class discourse. The second is more about inclusivity, and I think that's what the Punguza Mizigo fails to address. Inclusivity and tribal tensions in this country.
I can't believe you're ignorant.
Please, deal with my argument, not me. This is what this gentleman is trying to articulate. This is what the gentleman is trying to articulate.
Njeri is right.
Roderick is saying.
Njeri is right. Can you just let Njeri just say it? I might not have put it in proper... I have not constructed it well, but where Njeri is heading, that's okay. The inclusivity wasn't there.
Okay. So does it address inclusivity?
On this matter, people will differ, because I, for instance, think Punguza Mizigo addresses the very thing that they're saying it doesn't address.
It deals with it from a class perspective, the haves, the have-nots. You've got some populist elements in there.
No,
the idea of
that's interpretation now.
No. If you look at it and its schema and the very essence of it, similarly, if you look at BBI, at least the points that they've communicated so far, you can conclusively say that this is more about inclusivity.
Tribal.
And then if you start to look at the rhetoric and the narrative that have been coming from the different camps politically, and this is where the political debate starts to emerge, you start to see that there's been one gentleman who's been creating the hustler narrative, rich versus poor narrative, and then you've got another group of people who've been trying to bring the country. No.
This is a lie.
This is conclusively what has been going on here. No.
I'd like.
Oh, that's a lie. But you're pushing that narrative, which is
we are coming to the close of the hour, and this is now the point where we want to give Dr. Aukot a moment to give us your closing remarks.
So Eric, there are two things I want to say. First of all, I want to say to Roderick that the idea of Punguza Mizigo, and especially adopting the word as the primary unit of accelerating development, was to bring real and meaningful inclusivity in our country, where if each and every Kenyan today enjoys services at the very doorsteps, can actually tick the box and say, I am secure, food secure, I have electricity, I have schools, I have medicine in my hospital. That's real inclusivity. People will not even care, by the way, who becomes the president, or becomes, even a dog can be president, nobody will care. Okay?
So why have democracy at all?
So we are addressing that in the bill. As opposed to the rumor that Njeri and others are entertaining about BBI addressing inclusivity, the idea that if you expand the national executive, accommodate a few individuals who are supposedly representing certain regions and certain tribes, that's inclusivity. That is selfishness.
Thank you.
Secondly, Eric, there are only two ways you can seek to amend the Constitution of Kenya, and they are explained clearly in Article 256.
I'll give you 2 minutes to wind up that when you go to the top of the hour. So I want us to look at the traffic, and then out of the traffic, we'll give you 2 minutes to give you a conclusion, and then of course we will wind up the conversation. And thank you very much for joining in. 0719-012-600. Thank you very much for everybody who's called in this morning. We have in our studio the party leader of the Third Way Alliance. This is Dr. Ekuru Aukot. He's also the leader, of course, of the Punguza Mizigo initiative, and now he says it's going to be called the Punguza Mizigo Kenya, right? And they are going into the next phase of this. Good morning, 8 and 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, there's a gridlock on the Eastern Bypass and trying to get out via Utawala, and traffic is not moving at all. Also, coming out of Kitengela, we have an issue this morning whereby there's been an accident and there is no movement. Kitengela is actually at a standstill, and we don't know exactly how bad that is, but right now traffic is not moving at all. And that is definitely going to affect traffic coming onto the Greater Mombasa Road. So if you're wondering what's going on, that's it. There's an accident and trying to get that cleared up. And until then, you're just going to have to brave it. It is bumper to bumper. And that is what